1. Been a while since I've had a customer complain over the phone since the pandemic happened. I was hoping to get some peace, and lo and behold, I get this call. It's not verbatim, but it captures the heart of the conflict. Some background info. Our restaurant is one of those make-your-own-bowl plate meal type establishments. You basically choose a base, add meats, veg, and sauces, etc. Obviously, in our menus, we write dietary notes like this contains pork or contains soy. Most importantly, please tell us if you have any dietary restrictions or allergies. Customer calls to complain about her online order. Hello, how may I help you?
Yeah, I ordered from your restaurant and you mixed the fish with the chicken. I can't eat it.
May I ask what your name is?
It's under the name John Doe.
Obviously not the real name. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm looking at your order and it's with the chicken. There was no instruction to separate it in its own container.
But I can't eat it. Why would you put the fish and chicken together?
Well, in this restaurant we have customers who add and mix their meals. Some add pork, chicken, and shrimp. Others have tofu and sausages and other combinations. We'll put it in their base bowl unless they specifically tell us to separate some things. Customer goes on a rant about how abnormal my restaurant is.
How is that normal? Who does that in a restaurant?
Internally I'm thinking Chipotle, Qdoba, Bear Burger, In the Kitch, Chard, every poke bowl restaurant, a bunch of ramen restaurant, kava, a bunch of delis, and even some halal carts with their chicken and lamb over rice combo.
This isn't how you serve food to your customers.
No, this is how we serve our food. Our customers have enough common sense to ask to not have foods they can't eat mixed in, or at least separated.
I'm never coming to this restaurant, ever!
I'm sorry to hear that. Dumbass. I don't actually call her a dumbass. I'm thinking it, though. The customer hangs up. Yo, manager, just a heads up, if you get a complaint on Yelp or an email about an order about not separating stuff, here's a copy of the order. So she didn't write to separate it? Didn't mention she can't eat the stuff? Alright. We've got evidence just in case the office branch calls about it. The following day, John Doe orders online again, and this time with no fish. 2. So in the UK, we've got a government scheme running Monday to Wednesday through August, where you can get up to £10 per person off food and soft drinks. It's great for the guests, and it works with our staff discounts too. Since we reopened after lockdown, we've had a lot of new social distancing measures, including the duty manager mainly playing host and hostess. Super weird for us since we're usually such a casual place. We're also working pretty much on bookings only. Especially Sunday to Wednesday, as they're our busiest days, the vast majority of places are doing this now. Yesterday, it was my fault a toddler was going hungry because they didn't book or even call ahead. It was my fault a heavily pregnant woman couldn't eat. We were the 6th pub she's been to that won't let her and her family in. Maybe after the 2nd you'd think of giving some places a ring. I got shouted at because the same brand down the road isn't doing bookings, and said all of the brand is doing first come first served. I've never worked there, hun. I don't know what they do, and if we're being honest, I don't care. I just want you to get out of my face. I got bored of this convo 5 minutes in. I had to call the police 10 minutes into my shift because a woman was so upset that she was asked to observe social distancing rules she decided to kick off, scream, and then threaten to have a member of staff's head kicked in. Nice. One chef called in sick, leaving us with a new apprentice and one of our front of house staff. So we were down 2 front of house as well. Another had called in. Slow-ass kitchen. Not their fault. They've been left without a fully trained member. I turned to expediting and making desserts in an effort to spread things a little bit. My bar comes in with a big group of women asking for you. So I'm deflated. How many people want to shout at me now? It's a group of 8 I'd seated and served their food, made and served their desserts, gave them a few little extras thinking it would cheer them up. I think they could see the look of dread on my face because they all burst out laughing. They wanted to thank me for their good time because they gave me £10, I bought my kitchen drinks, I deserved it more. Tips are just a bonus here, and I get paid the most out of them all. A slew of compliments, and booked in for next week. I went and had a cigarette, and a small, happy tear might have come out. I don't think people realize how much their nice little actions, like coming up and saying how much they enjoyed their time, make a difference. 3. This is a rant. I hate literally every single customer that comes through our door, simply because they went out to eat during this pandemic. I get that we all miss going out, it's a real bummer, but don't do it! I want my restaurant and all restaurants to stop service. Screw it. I'm in New York City, so it's exacerbated, and we have no indoor dining, but I'm lucky enough to have found a place with a large rooftop patio. So we do well-ish. But I hate it. Yes, part of it is that I don't like this particular restaurant. I'm only here because it's the first thing I found after restaurants were reopening. It's the best I can do right now, but also, the shit I have to go through to serve these assholes? Even the ones who seem nice are only there because they're pretending the pandemic is over or not a big deal for them. But of course I smile and laugh because otherwise I can't pay rent. And yeah, fine, leave a 1-star review if you saw an ungloved hand touch a garnish. Abolish garnishes, by the way. But no one gives a shit when customers take their masks off or sneeze directly on me, or get up without a mask or walk to my service section to grab a straw. The pandemic is serious when it comes to criticizing your servers, but not serious enough for you to buy your own goddamn bottle of rosé to drink it at home. Get some fucking takeout. I have love and empathy for small businesses, especially bars and restaurants. But the industry is broken. Shut it down until we can fix it. I want to get laid off. This isn't worth it. Do our best behind the scenes to ensure safety, but guess what? People fuck up. And that's a risk you're taking when you go out to eat in the middle of a pandemic in New York City. And all that work we do behind the scenes? It's so much work. I'm exhausted, more so than with any other service job, and for far lower tips. The heat outdoors, the deep and constant cleaning, my hands melting from washing and sanitizing. The many extra steps in service. And the nature of the industry means that, in the minds of my employers, the bottom line is at least equally as important as safety, because it's their actual livelihood. But that translates to tables being too close together, just a smidge, okay, maybe another smidge. Reluctance to spend money on protective measures, etc. This is going on far too long. Just burn the industry down. I want out. I never thought it would be forever for me, but I'm seriously done. But it's so hard to get other jobs right now. And I'm so exhausted from all this damn cleaning that I can barely muster the energy to cook my dinner, let alone apply for other jobs. 4. I am a 30-year-old pencil pusher by now, so this story is not recent. It happened about 9 years ago when I was still in college. During that time, I served at a small diner, 14 tables total, a bar with about 10 seats, and more seating on the patio. Located in a suburban town that also boasted a small college, which I attended. This place was frequented by some of the best people you'll ever meet. I loved working there and making relationships with regulars and strangers alike. In fact, I'm still in contact with some of my regulars 9 years later. Of course, there were difficult and belligerent customers at times, but the good experiences far outweighed the bad. I miss it, to be honest. One story leapt out of my brain today. This diner was a very popular breakfast and lunch spot. Dinner was spotty, but we still did pretty well. From 7 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., we were usually at capacity. This story occurred on one particular Labor Day, and it was hot outside. The street on which this restaurant was located was hosting a Labor Day parade, so we were more packed than usual from people who wanted to escape the heat and get a bite. I ran my ass off from open till the lunch rush died down around 2 p.m, made good money, provided good service, etc., etc. Since it was a holiday, we were closing early that day at 3 p.m. This was marked everywhere, including online. I only had 2 tables left at 2:30 p.m. when a family 4-top came in. No problem, I seat them. I'm getting off early anyway, so it doesn't bother me if they stay past 3 p.m. But I notice immediately that the father and husband is very overweight and struggling mightily with the heat. I get him water, but he starts looking worse and eventually falls out of his chair after a few minutes. He is mostly unresponsive while I run to call 911 and get some cool, moist towels to give to his wife. He unfortunately defecated during this incident. Poor guy. He kept saying how sorry he was, and he was clearly embarrassed, even though he was clearly in pain. Not sure if it was heat stroke or heart attack, and I never found out. But I'm running around trying to help this guy, holding the door as the paramedics come, moving chairs and tables to clear a path. That's not the story. The next part is, while I'm running around the restaurant, I'm still checking on my 2 tables. They've mostly finished, so I'm trying to get them out ASAP, as I assume they have lost their appetites. So I'm clearing plates and getting checks. I'm being somewhat neglectful of them, but hey, I can only do so much. Well, the 2 top of college-age guys decided during all this turmoil to get up and leave without paying their checks. I don't notice until the ambulance leaves, and see that they are gone. The check still on the table. I'm a little shook up, so I tell my manager that they walked out, and he tells me to go find them. The manager was also the owner and is a great guy, so hopefully that doesn't make him sound bad. He was as pissed as me. I'm not the most confrontational, but at that moment I wanted to find those fuckers, and I think they're college age. I've seen them around campus, so they probably didn't drive. Campus is only a few blocks away. I should probably start in that direction. But then I put on my detective hat. What would I do if I just got an endorphin rush from stealing from a restaurant on this hot day? Well, I would probably get a nice frosty treat from the Dairy Queen 2 blocks away. So I jogged to the Dairy Queen, sweating my balls off, and bust in like a man on a mission. And lo and behold, who do I see in line but my 2 forgetful customers from 5 minutes ago? They don't look incredibly thrilled to see me for some reason. I walk up to them and put the check in their face and politely tell them that they neglected to pay. They look ashamed and inform me that they were in a hurry. Of course, they weren't being opportunistic douchebags. They were just in a huge rush to wait in line for ice cream. So I tell them, look, it's no problem. If you give me your card, I'll go cash you guys out and bring it back. These dumbasses actually give me a credit card. And I walk back to the restaurant, charge the card, lock the front door, as now after 3 p.m., and go about my side work in order to close down the front of the house. After about 20 minutes, they must have realized that I wasn't actually returning, and showed up at the front door of the restaurant. I saw them approaching through the large front windows, so I slipped in my headphones and continued mopping. Unfortunately, I could not hear them knocking on the front door as I concentrated on my mopping, in full view of my 2 former customers. It took me about 15 more minutes to finish cleaning the floors, at which point I looked up and put on my best surprised face to see them pounding on the door. I hold up a finger, tell them to wait, make my way slowly behind the counter, look confused, finally locate their receipt and credit card, walk slowly toward the door. Need to be careful on that wet floor. Open the door a crack and handed back their card. Asked them to sign the receipt, and promptly closed the door after. They waddled off in sweaty silence. 5. This is a long rant about my restaurant's management and owners. I'm sure a lot of you can relate right now. For my place, it's beyond all the new rules, regulations, and tasks for COVID prevention, which, although necessary, is still tedious and tiring. I've been here since last summer. There have been a few concerns, but no place is perfect. And overall, it's been good. Super flexible, 4 shifts a week, good money, laid-back vibe. awesome team, etc. I live in Canada, and things are slowly reopening and returning to a semblance of normalcy. But coming back to this job is an all-new experience. Right away, we are understaffed. Not everyone could come back to their original hours, whether it be due to school, pursuing a new career, family reasons, etc. It's totally understandable. What isn't understandable is management refuses to do any hiring, so everyone is stuck working 6 to 7 days a week for the foreseeable future. I'm currently on a 2-week stretch. We also aren't allowed to book time off for the foreseeable future. Now, this is a place where it's never been an issue before, but right now, if you even ask about it, they freak out on you. One server asked for a weekend off in a few weeks, literally just 2 days off. Her boyfriend wants to do something special for her 30th birthday. Management denied the request and handled it super childishly. They belittled and berated her over it. They even finished their rant with,
"You can have a birthday or you can have a job. You can easily be replaced."
They've also changed the tip out without warning. It used to be that tip out would be dependent on the number of support working. Now we tip out the max regardless. Their excuse is to
balance out the weekend.
But if you work Sunday to Wednesday, you're getting screwed. Tipping out for force support when only 1 or 2 are actually there. Oh, and now we also have to tip out on our tips made through debit and credit. How it works is we calculate 4% of our tips made with card. This money goes to the house. Neither I nor my friends have ever heard of this before. To top it all off, the owner has started micromanaging the staff. He just ends up getting in the way, berating staff and causing mistakes. I'm just exhausted, both physically and mentally. Everyone I work with used to be so upbeat and positive, but now we're all frustrated and miserable. I'm over it. The whole reason I started working there was 1, they're closed on Sundays, so I'd have a guaranteed day off. 2, shifts are capped to 4 days a week. And there was flexibility because a work-life balance was important to them. 3, the owner was hands-off and didn't micromanage because the staff were professional and good at their job. Still are. 4, the tip-out had a fair breakdown that depended on number of people working. 5, it was an overall positive environment. Every one of those things have now changed. We're understaffed and overworked, continuously being nitpicked. Managers refuse to do any hiring. Everyone is exhausted and miserable. There is no end in sight. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates, number 111. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. I've got family that work as a server, and I worry about them constantly in this kind of environment because I don't get it. I honestly don't see the appeal in going out right now. On the one hand, I'm glad people are able to make a living. On the other hand, I think it sucks that they have to make a living this way during this time. And as I was saying, I don't see the appeal of it. I stay at home there because it's dangerous out there. And I avoid contact with people as much as I can. I go out very, very little. Since March, when the lockdown happened in my country, I've been into town where the supermarkets and everything are. I've been out once. Now it's kind of like a forced trip out because I needed something I could really only get by going and getting it myself. And I miss it. I certainly do miss having the freedom to go about, but if it's not necessary, why do you do it? I mean, eating out, going to pubs and clubs and everything, these are not essential. These are luxury things, at least that's how it's always seemed to me as I was raised. Generally, you're going to be able to... Your money's going to go further if you're eating at home anyway. But I feel very conflicted because, as I say, I said I want things to go back to normal because I want friends and family that work in the industry to be able to make a living, to make a safe living, which is what they want as well. And it's... How do I put this without using a crass metaphor? I think we've all, at points in our life, been in a situation where we'd like to just walk away from a job, but we've been unable to, because you've needed the money, no matter how unpleasant it has been. And that's where people in the service industry are right now. If you're lucky, you're in a place that's doing takeout only, you're having minimal contact with the public, they're taking precautions inside, but if it's a place that's open up, the risk is there. And it's big. Even where I live in Scotland, the numbers for us in Scotland aren't too bad, but since they've been relaxing the lockdown rules, those numbers have actually started going up a bit again. Because people are getting careless. They think relaxing the rules means there's no rules. Okay, I'm going to stop grumbling and move on. I'm sure we've heard it all before, and the people that are going to listen have already listened, and the ones that don't, they don't care, so they're not going to listen. Okay. That's enough Grumble Freezer. I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.